I'm back. Just finished work. I didn't get to do any of this yesterday after work because, you know, got home late. But I had my regular hours today, so we're getting sunlight hour with Nona. I'm excited. I think my horns might be a little crooked. Oh well. Am I using highlighter as lipstick? Yes. I am always here for shiny things and sparkly things and shimmer. That is the life. I didn't have time. I didn't really have time to react to the end of chapter 13 because I was like on the run. I was like, I need to leave for work right now. But I do remember at the beginning of the chapter when, or whenever it was that Judith started, you know, screaming random weird stuff, I was like, this is strange and doesn't sound like her. It was all of the, like, the star, salt. I'm gonna read it again just because of the first part. Well, no, I'll tell you. It's the resurrection beast speaking to Nona, isn't it? Or to Alecto in Nona, or whatever. That's Varan, what's his face? I'm assuming. So let's read it again. Dust of my dust, such similar star salt, what they did to you, and what they wrung from you, and what shape they made you fill. We see you still, we seek you still. We murdered, we who murder. You inadvertent tool, you misused green thing, come back to us, take vengeance for us. We saw you, we see you, I see you. It's funny that they call her a green thing. Makes me think, is like, does that mean like, we know, green thing makes me think of earth, of, you know, nature, plant life, so. But I feel like that's not just it. I may be misunderstanding, but like, it's funny. They can't have been looking for her the whole time though, like Alecto, right? Because they were still chasing John for a while, unless they saw, like they sensed her within John. Okay, so like they've switched eyes or whatever, so I don't know why I think Alecto is part of this weird triangle. Right, I do. I know why. Because there's like been weird hints everywhere. Yeah, I'm theorizing. Where's the rest of it? I see you. Then she starts talking normal. Poor her. She's not having a great time. Propaganda and a leash. Ah, I like that. My hands are too filthy to save you. Oh, that's sad. Where's your sword in the coffin? I remember remarking upon that. I was like, why is she talking about that? How does she know about that? The sword in the coffin happened with the sleeper, which was in the river, and she's alive, so she shouldn't technically know about that. And the sword in the coffin is like literally, you know, what Harrow is doing right now. So my only guess is that she someone knows what's going on there. Either she's still catching, you know, brain waves from the Varan or whatever. There you go. Because I saw her in the waves, she was there in the gray water. Who? Harrow or Alecto? Probably Alecto. Maybe both. I saw them all, they hurt me. Unless it was Harrow. Well, no, Harrow didn't kill the 7th planet. Or the 7th beast or whatever. Where is my hunger? I eat and eat and eat without surcease, my green thing, my green and breathing thing. So, like, I'm assuming Nona's the one that's always not hungry. She's always not wanting to eat. Or she says she's hungry for, like, something else. Or eats frickin' sand, like the disaster child. I love her, okay? I love her. But I'm trying to put things together because we're finally getting some dang information. We're getting too much information this chapter. I was notified by a friend who's already read this. He's like, yeah, it was a pretty chill chapter compared to what happens next. And I was like, you know what? I should have seen this coming. I mean, I do see it coming, but I'm in denial. I'm living in denial. Let's just, you know, escort Nona to school. Honestly, when the sun comes in, it's probably gonna get too hot for my flannel. Do I want to get up and turn the fan on? Yeah, let's do it. If it bothers me, I'll turn it off later. I hope it's not too distracting. Oop, I'm sorry. I hope the noise isn't distracting, because she's a little loud, because I am used to having to have I keep hitting the stand because my feet, ugh. I need to move around. Yeah, she's set pretty high. I love how I sat down and I'm just like, I need to go adjust the damn fan. Sorry. I'll try to edit this out, but I don't know if I'll remember, so. I don't remember how these things work. I think that's fine. Okay. Oh my goodness. I always have to get into this seat weirdly. You're witnessing it now because I don't want to move the chair. It's very heavy. And I don't want to move the desk. I'm trying to figure out how to sit so my feet don't get mad at me. Okay. Alright, let's actually finally start reading the dang chapter. Okay, around 7 minutes. 7:07 maybe. Chapter 14. This has the locked tomb on it. The previous one I think had Eden. It had the third skull because it was crown. Anyway, I feel like this is coming off. I hope it doesn't come off. I had to like re-glue it because it was lopsided. Please just hang out, stay. I think it's fine. Don't touch it, and it'll be fine. If it falls off, I'll be a one-horned creature, I guess. I already got some weird comments about them. That's a different story. Maybe I'll tell it at the end of the chapter or the end of the video. They were driven back in the same silence and given the same tests. Just in case they'd left their bodies in the facility, Calamities always said, and put something fake in the car. But with Crown along, the trip was much nicer. Nona got to sit up on the seat next to Crown. One of the guards said, "You're taking our lives in your hands." But Crown said, "Oh, please." And that was that. Nona wasn't even pressed into the floor, though she was cuffed. And they did use plastic zip cords, not the tape, which felt a lot better, except that they cut into the skin a little. There were 2 pink hoops on Cam's wrists where the ties cut into it. Nona's went away immediately. "Stop the car," called out Crown, and the car coughed to a stop. Camilla stiffened. "We're near Nona's school," said Crown, and Nona wriggled with pleasure and relief. That's a mood. I definitely. Body language, funny thing. What? I'm just saying words. Okay. I get excited. And then my words get confused. I'm fine. I thought I'd get out and walk her. How's that sound, cutie? Do you mean it? Said Nona, ecstatic. Please, Crown. I'd love that. I want my friends to see you. The car can drop the rest of you off back at the safe zone, finished Crown. She was already slitting the ties on Nona's wrists as the car revved in place. Camilla said through a thick mouthful of hood. No. What, you think I can't look after her? It's 100 meters from here. Nona, wait. But Nona, who was desperate to get out of the car, had hopped out the moment Crown opened the door for her, delighted to get out into the warm-smelling concrete-smelling air and breathe in salty lungfuls of traffic fumes and ocean and burning rubbish. She had a massive pang when she realized the car wasn't stopping to let Cam or Pyrrha out too, that she hadn't listened properly, that she'd been selfish, that she hadn't understood the implications. She blurted, I don't have a hat or a mask. There's hardly any smoke. I still need one. I still need them. Crown scrounged in her pockets and took out 2 flimsy soft shell masks, winding one around her face and head and face. She had a hood on her jacket, and she unsnapped it from the collar to settle it around Nona's head and shoulders. I've got chem screen on, she said, and tucked Nona's arms into hers. Come on, let's live a little. By that point, the car had burred to life again and was reversing back down the street. Nona hesitated. But Camilla hadn't used the special safe word after all. Hadn't used any of the codes they agreed on that meant Nona couldn't. That meant Nona was being ordinarily selfish, not dangerously selfish. Oh, sweet child. Seeing Crown in the city sunrise was fantastic. A couple of people had stopped on the street to gawk at her, hatless and golden, then moved on hurriedly when they saw her gun. But Camilla, she began. I've got as much right to you as Camilla does, said Crown, still smiling. In another world, I might have been the one looking after you, you know. And I think Camilla does a bit too much looking after. You're not so much younger than she is, after all. Okay, Corona. This resembled some of the darker and more resentful thoughts in the back of Nona's head. She mumbled, but I love Camilla. Oops. I need to plug my phone in. I forget that this one has, like, the worst battery life known to man. Because this is an old phone, and I keep it because it's got way more storage. So it's basically my camera, because I do not have a camera. I mean, I do, but it's, like, really old, and, you know. Probably not better than this. She mumbled, but I love Camilla. Do you love Camilla? In love with Camilla? Crown sounded amused, and weaved her around a little stand that was selling magazines and candy. The streets were thick with people meandering home before the hottest part of the day kicked in, but not hurrying yet, which meant it hopefully wasn't that late. Excuse me. Maybe you could be the one to melt her icy heart. You're cute. On your best days, adorable. But I'm not sure you're her type. Nona flushed. Suddenly being treated as an adult made her feel out of her depth. Mood. Like when a wave knocked her off a sandbar and her feet went out from under her. From beneath her. She didn't know what to say or how to act and floundered towards the shallows. She's not your type either, she said. I love you, Nona. Crown stood back from the road as a barrage of open-backed trucks rattled past. There was a piercing whistle in her direction, and she ignored it with a disdainful toss of her big yellow hair. She looked down at Nona and asked cheerfully, How do you know my type? Nona thought it was obvious. It's the way you look at people. Tell me, demanded Crown. There was a deep, velvety spark of mischief in her eyes, and Nona thought again how lovely they were, like the flowers in the sexy shampoo advertisement. I love that Nona seems to think that sexy just means something that you like. Come on, I'll die if I don't know. I love being told about myself. You know what? That's a mood. I like when people tell me how they perceive me. It's always fun. Nona rose quite eagerly to the challenge. You look at Commander We Suffer like you want her to think you're into her, but you aren't at all. It's just something you're doing with your eyelashes, she said. But that's no help figuring out your type because I don't know what the commander looks like. You don't like Pash at all, but I don't know what she looks like either. You're scared of Pyrrha, and you do think she's nice looking, but you're confused when you think that, so you don't look at her very much. You want Camilla to cuddle you, but not in a sexy way. I think you want Camilla to look at you like she looks at me. Like you're in love with the... A hand went over the mask at Nona's mouth. When she looked up at Crown and that press of people in the clinging smoke, she could see the eyes above their soft shell mask had lost their soft purple gleam and were dark with the heavy amber brows drawn low over them. She said in a different voice, All right, Nona, I've heard enough. Nona, when the hand was withdrawn, said thickly, You're mad at me. Shame on you. You did ask. I would also love non-sexy cuddles. All the cuddles. I ask for snuggles, and all I get is struggles. Okay. The trucks had passed, and everyone surged together across the street in one big slosh of humanity. Ooh, I like that. That's getting a green tab. Oof. Sticking out too far. I need to make sure they're not sticking out too far, but also not so I can't see them at all. There's a balance. Okay. Crown's half stricken, half laughing. Oh, Crown, half stricken, half laughing, had put her arm back through Nona's, and they hurried down the street towards the school. She said, You remind me very much of someone when you make that face. I'm sorry, cutie, I got frightened. Can you forgive me? I won't ever ask you to do it again. Tell you what, I'll owe you an ice cream. Nona was a little bit mollified. Was it Harrow? That might have been a Harrow face. Yeah, the shame on you. The judging face. I don't want an ice cream, thanks, she said on her dignity. You shouldn't ask me things if you don't want me to tell the truth about them. I want to say that to a lot of people. I know, I do it all the time. I've never learned. It's awful. My sister says that. I asked her how I looked in an outfit, and she'd always say exactly what was on her mind. Oh, maybe it was. No, I don't think she reminded her of Yanthe. And sometimes all I wanted was for her to tell me I looked perfect, even if I didn't. Crown sighed, the picture of tragedy. Horribly, she was always right. But you always look beautiful, said Nona. That's why I should ask you what I look like and ask my sister what I'm feeling, said Crown. You'll always tell me I look beautiful, and she'll always tell me what I want her to think. This is the school, isn't it, where you work? They would have had to get buzzed in, except that someone was already standing there unlocking the door with the key. It was the angel. Nona flew down the street in a panic that the door would close without her. She cried out, "Wait!" Nona was completely winded by the time she got to the foyer with the angel holding the door for her. Nona bent double and panted, and when she straightened up, she was shocked to find the angel looking even worse than she had on the 2 previous days, with her coat still on and Noodle sitting patiently on the leash. "Oh," said Nona, panting. How late is over? What time?" Despite looking as though she hadn't slept, or if she had slept in the clothes she was currently wearing, the angel grinned. This made her ears go up slightly with a smile, which Nona loved. "Get your breath back," said the angel kindly. "They're just finishing up with the break. I was getting myself sorted." Crown had jogged to catch them up and slipped through the door before it closed. "You see," said Crown, not winded at all, filling up the doorway. "What did I tell you? You're fine." The angel and Crown sized each other up. Crown was much younger and bigger and taller and more exquisite, and when she pulled her mask down and smiled, the angel's eyes widened a bit. Not in a "you are so attractive" way either, Nona noted. The angel was a bit shocked, like Crown looking the way she did was maybe illegal. I do admit, I do feel like that sometimes about some people. Not very often. They shook hands in perfect amity, but the angel looked her over and said, "No guns in the building. That's the rule, I'm afraid." "Oh, I would never scare the children," said Crown sincerely. But the angel said, "No, but nobody's going to be interested in my lesson if they see you. We're doing how sound moves today, and they'll be bored stiff." Crown laughed with very white and even teeth. "I'm sorry to say I sympathize. I was terribly stupid in my lessons when I was a girl." "How long ago was that? 5 minutes?" said the angel, and Crown laughed again. "Why can't she come up? I want Hot Sauce and the others to meet her," said Nona, embittered. "It's not fair. We got to see beautiful Ruby's baby. I've had a horrible morning, and I want them to look at her." "Nona, I've had a horrible morning too, so have mercy on me," said the angel candidly. "It would make teaching Soundways impossible if anyone got a glimpse of your friend. Can't she come back afterwards? Are you family? Do you know Jolie? I'm afraid I've never met you before," she added to Crown. Crown had crouched down and was scraping Noodle behind his ears. Noodle was responding by thumping 2 of his hind legs at once and opening his mouth and panting. "Oh, I'm Camilla's partner, but I can't stay." "Excuse me?" "I see. Lovely to meet you," said the angel, unaware of how her eyebrows betrayed her. Like everyone else in the world to Nona seemed unaware of how their eyebrows betrayed them. By immediately saying as plain as day, "Camilla? Really? Camilla?" Which Nona thought was unfair. Crown was very nearly pretty enough for Camilla. Like that. Everyone else in the world to Nona seemed unaware of how their eyebrows betrayed them. Never expected betrayal from my eyebrows. But I'm a very expressive person, so it's probably not just my eyebrows. Nona, can you take Noodle for a moment? I've got to get the tuning forks, and he's gonna make the most unrighteous howl. He can't stand the things. When she passed the I need to slow down. When she passed the leash to Nona, and when she had passed the leash to Nona and gone through the door with one last look at Crown, Nona crouched to give Noodle her hand to lick and said accusingly, "If Camilla hears you said that, she'll be furious." "That's probably why I said it," admitted Crown with genuine contrition. "I have a ripple of evil running through my soul. I know I do." "But it wasn't that bad a lie, was it? Don't you think it'll raise Cam's status? Don't you think I've done her a favor?" Nona thought about it. "Camilla doesn't need raising. You could have raised my status by saying you were mine," she added. "They would have believed it. We're both very attractive." Crown laughed in her lovely, husky, rippling way, and there you go, reminding me of someone completely different. Gideon, I'm assuming. Then she dropped to a crouch again, but instead of dipping low and scratching Noodle, she gently pressed her thumb to the underside of Nona's chin. She was smiling now, but she was smiling as though Nona had said something a little sad, and her eyes didn't sparkle anymore. They hadn't gone hard as they had at the roadside, but they were shadowy. "You, darling, I know what you are. Even if they refuse to see it," she said softly. "All I can say, sweetheart, is I envy you more than anyone else in the universe." Of course she'd say that. I'm sure Corona has a lot of things in her past that she would like to forget. "I know what you are, even if they refuse to see it." Do you? Do you, or do you just see, like, a blank slate? A very, very cute and very, very sweet blank slate. I feel like I should... I'll put a purple tab there. Oh, I need to get more of my dark purple ones. They're in my bedroom. If I get to a part where I absolutely need... Oh, this is the end of the chapter. I can pause the video just so I know where to put the next timestamp easier. And I can go get them. So I think I have scissors in here that I can cut it with. Let us check. Where did the scissors go? Okay, maybe I put them back in my bedroom. Anyway, I'll be right back. Okay. Chapter 15. We got the 7th house skull again with the rose. That is, oh my god, the skulls are so prettily designed. My brain just went tattoo ideas. No! But I like skulls and I don't have any. I have like 2 tattoos only. So the number of tattoos I don't have is almost infinite. Or the design of tattoos. Whatever. Okay. But with this bomb dropped, Crown refused to stay and tell. Stay and tell. Show and tell. And Nona crouched there too open-mouthed to run after her. In any case, Nona did not have to mourn long the fact that she was late for work, and none of her friends had got to see Crown. Honesty had seen Crown leave from his window seat, and she was gratified when Born in the Morning and Honesty gave each other rabbit punches over who got to ask Nona how old she was and which of their names Nona had to mention to her in the future. Hot Sauce also came over to stroke Noodle and said, "Good, you're here. Don't want you to be dead." Which was a lot for Hot Sauce to say. Nona. Nuna? That's not an English word. That's a Korean word. Nona recalled what Pyrrha had said about Hot Sauce. She looked her over carefully. It wasn't as easy reading her as it was reading Pyrrha. Hot Sauce constantly stood as though she were disconnected from her own head. Mood. The dissociation vibes are... Okay. Her body and her mind seemed to actively ignore each other, and her burns sometimes made her look rigid in a way that scared the tinies and foxed Nona's senses. Interesting. Now Hot Sauce stood like she hadn't slept very well, but Hot Sauce never stood like she'd slept very well. Her eyes were wrinkled like she squinted them a lot, maybe against bright smoke. Yeah, bright smoke, that's definitely a thing. Bright light or smoke. Would you be mad if I died? Said Nona. Yes, said Hot Sauce simply. You're my crew. This made Nona deliriously pleased, but then deeply anxious. Hot Sauce, she said timidly, I don't want you to be sad or mad if anything happens to me. Promise not to be sad. I don't like it on your face. There was a flicker of surprise across Hot Sauce's eyelashes, but then the others ragged her at the idea that anyone would be sad if she died, and they got into an argument about who would inherit her share of fruit that day, as if it hadn't been bagsed, which turned into another fight between Born in the Morning and Honesty, who had not forgiven each other for the rabbit punches, and both of whom started promising their worldly goods to anyone who wasn't each other. Honesty had recovered, although his eye looked puffier and more multicolored than it had the day before. The teacher had given him some painkillers to take, but he had cunningly spat them out and dried them for resale, so he was entirely happy. That's disgusting! Nona came away promised, on Born in the Morning's death, a pen that wrote in 3 different colors, and on Honesty's, his collection of paper throwing stars. Both great acquisitions. Hot Sauce didn't say anything after that. Just sat by the window alternately watching the angel, packing little metal pins away into a box, and chatting to the main teacher after the hour of science, looking fragile but still more rested after teaching and a coffee, in the window. Nona did not have to wait to ask Hot Sauce what she was going to get told. The teacher obviously... Wait, what? Nona did not have to wait to ask Hot Sauce what she was going to get told. For some reason, my brain is really not comprehending that right now. It's not processing. I think I get it. I'm probably just overthinking it. The teacher obviously relieved to see her. Nona said she hadn't been able to get to school that morning for unexpected reasons, and the teacher gently and compassionately didn't ask. Which made Nona cross again because she could see she was thinking about Pyrrha. Gave Nona the job of taking down the old paintings from the peg on the wall and putting up fresh ones that had been done last week. Nona had to stand on a chair, and Hot Sauce quietly held the chair for her, and everyone else was busy taking out the mats for nap time. It was bewildering how quickly the day went, when you had the morning taken away from you. Hot Sauce said, The angel was dropped off in a car today at the end of the street. I didn't see. I caught her in the doorway, said Nona, taking her focus away from balancing, then refocusing so she didn't fall off the chair. She unclipped a piece of brown sheeting and admired the painting on it briefly, and then said, Is her being in a car good or bad? When the school building watcher saw she wasn't here this morning, said Hot Sauce. He left. Okay. He came back 20 minutes ago. It's an organized watch. By who? I don't know, but she's being protected. Her vehicle had a grill, said Hot Sauce. Nona had to admit she did not understand the significance of the vehicle having a grill. Me too. Hot Sauce explained it was that so you could drive it through rocks. Or people. Okay. So what do we do? Nona wanted to know. I guess someone's looking after the angel already. It was beginning to dawn on her that this level of care was strange when directed at someone whose contribution to the world was noodle in the hour of science, which was truly wonderful but only really important to the refuge school. She added doubtfully, Why is the angel so special? The main teacher materialized behind them. Nona, aren't you going home for lunch? It was then that Nona realized that nobody had come to pick her up. I don't know, she said. Can I stay here until Cam comes? The nice lady teacher looked troubled and then tried to hide it. Because she really wasn't that much older than Camilla, Nona didn't think the hiding worked. She was really just a baby herself, Nona thought suddenly. Of course you can. Why don't you take one of the lunches and get yourself a mat? There's plenty to go around. Seems like everybody's eating at home today. Hot Sauce said, They're raising a broadcast is why. What? This startled the teacher. Do you mean from the government building? This is the first I've heard of it. But when Hot Sauce stood there stolidly, not elaborating, the teacher said, And here's us without a working radio. Hi, AIM. Do you know anything about this? AIM? Is it another dumb... Sorry. I don't mean to be insulting, but is this another dumb sentence name? Someone said it was from scripture or something, so not just sentence, quote, whatever. The angel came over. She had another coffee clutched in her hands and was stirring sugar into it vigorously, despite the fact that it was deep into the heat of the day. I mean, I do agree. Concur. I have hot tea on hot days sometimes, because hot tea is the best. She said, Heard what? The children, Hot Sauce and Nona, said there's going to be a public broadcast. No, Hot Sauce said it. Nona was just wondering about lunch. I thought they ran out of money for that a year ago. I've certainly heard nothing but pirate radio for months. Is it going to be about the porch? Do you think they'll start arrests? The angel took a blistering sip of coffee, even though she must have known it was much too hot. She was holding it gingerly through her shirt sleeves. She sipped anyway in order to draw the moment out. Nona was interested that the angel didn't even seem surprised, that she only looked extra sodden and tired. I have heard something about that, yes, she said. Who knows? It's strange. They would always put out a paper notice before. That was in the old days. I guess they must have been in a hurry. Does that mean, are we finally going to get to hear about... What? Oh, I skipped forward with my eyes. Does that mean, are we finally going to get to hear about Jolie? Little Pictures. Okay, so Jolie, at least that sounds like a normal name. I probably jinxed that too. Jolie's the nice teacher lady, and Aim is the angel. I like Angel better. Come talk to me in the kitchen. When they had gone, Nona said to Hot Sauce, should we go listen to a radio too? There's one down at the dairy. Don't need one, said Hot Sauce. I know what they'll say. Who's here? The teacher had been right, and mostly everyone's parents had come to take them home, or the children had drifted off at a prearranged signal. Younger brother Father had come to retrieve Born in the Morning, and beautiful Ruby had gone home too. Younger brother Father. I don't know why, but that makes me think of the Untamed. Probably because there's so many words for brother. Or so many different prefixes for different kinds of brothers. Probably not called prefixes. I'm just gonna keep reading. And beautiful Ruby had gone home too. There was nobody to come and get Honesty, but he had taken his packed lunch and slunk off to sell his pills. Nona disapproved. It was too hot for drugs. This left Nona, Hot Sauce, and Kevin. Kevin had arranged 6 mats in a pile and curled up knees to nose in the debris of a hastily eaten lunch. All the good bits out of the cold noodles, the centers, out of all of the sandwiches. Nona reported this. Hot Sauce said, "You'll stay, Nona." "Yes," said Nona, who would have sooner died on the spot than refuse, and amended after a thought. "Unless Cam comes to get me, that is. I don't want Camilla to worry about me today." "Sure," said Hot Sauce. Nona didn't want the packed lunch, but anyone who might care about what she ate was off in the kitchen, so she got to do exactly as she pleased. She sucked on ice cube after ice cube, and then, in a gluttonous excess, chewed half a pencil to splinters. And you think why? And you wonder why I think about Electo. When I think about some of the weird shit that Nona does. Doesn't seem very human of her. She loved the cool sandy core of gray stuff, and the painful crunch of the wood, which came away to bits in her teeth. Hot Sauce watched, mild and unafraid, and drank a tiny sweating bottle of strawberry yogurt drink. Good choice. I like that stuff. After that, they lay down on 2 mats each, piled atop each other, in the shadiest part of the room closest to the water pipes. Nona found that she was very tired. She just wanted to lie down, not to sleep, but to push her hair out of the way of her neck and try to become cool. She was always a little afraid of sleeping now. She lay down on her side where her hip bones could be relied upon to stick into the mat and hurt a little bit, and hoped that would be enough. Thankfully, Hot Sauce showed no signs of sleeping either. She lay there on the mat on her side and did not take her cone of vision away from the little staff room door that the angel and the main teacher were ensconced behind. "Hot Sauce," Nona said softly, trying to keep herself awake. "What's the broadcast going to be about?" "Necromancers," said Hot Sauce. She waited for Hot Sauce to elaborate. Hot Sauce refused. Nona said, "Something good about... You know what? Or something bad?" Hot Sauce said, "It's never good with necromancers." "You shouldn't call them that." Hot Sauce didn't respond, in either praise or censure. Nona struggled to explain why and ended up with a pathetic, "It's not nice." "Zombies, then." Nona didn't think that was much better. "How do you know about it?" she asked, already halfway to knowing. "Heard about it last night." "Last night at the burn cages," Pyrrha said in her brain. Nona picked the long white filaments off her fingernails until some of them went red and started bleeding, and then she tucked her hands underneath herself so that nobody would see them stop bleeding just as quickly. She did not say from who. Instead, she said very hesitantly, "Last night in the park?" But Hot Sauce did not get angry or even really surprised. She didn't react in the way that Our Lady of the Passion might. She stared at the door unwaveringly instead. She blinked once, slowly, and that was it. Were you there? She asked in a slightly different voice. No. Don't go to the park at night. I don't want to, said Nona fervently. Not good for a girl like you, said Hot Sauce, like she wasn't 14 and like Nona wasn't 19. Or more important, 6 months, just about. Did the you-know-whats die? Hot Sauce misunderstood her question. They can die, she said. They die like anyone else, so don't believe they can't. But did these? Yes, too quickly, said Hot Sauce. Someone high up took them out before they burned. Sniper rifle. Stupid when people think you have to destroy the brain or they don't go. Don't really die, not even if you burn them. Well, what? Alright, she wouldn't know all the information about necromancers anyway. How would she know? Hot Sauce, when making long speeches, always ran her sentences into each other, as though they were piled up in traffic. Nona sat up, feeling a little dizzy and hot, and made it look as though she were checking on Kevin. She didn't quite know if Hot Sauce bought it. Kevin, after a good feed, was reliably dead to the world for at least 40 minutes. But when she lay back down on her side, facing Hot Sauce didn't look suspicious or pitying or anything like that. She stopped watching the door and stared at the ceiling instead. Shiny, glassy, crinkly bits showing where her shirt rucked up in the middle, and where it peeked out at her neck. The what now? Hot Sauce said quietly, Your people at the park? Nona swallowed. One of them, I think. Okay, said Hot Sauce. Are you? Do any of the others? Nona didn't know how to ask. She didn't quite know how to say, Are you in Blood of Eden? But Hot Sauce simply touched a finger to her lips for a shh, then raised 3 fingers, then pointed to herself. And Nona was proud that she was long past counting fingers. You, she whispered, and Honesty, and someone else. Hot Sauce nodded. Nona guessed again. Born in the morning. You mean born in the morning? Said Hot Sauce. That's what I said, said Nona. Yes! I was correct! Some of their names she is literally translating as she goes. He said, you mean born in the morning? That was in italics when Hot Sauce said it. Hot Sauce said, oops. That's what I said Nona. Hot Sauce said, yes, one of his fathers is active. Blood of But Hot Sauce pressed her finger right on Nona's mouth. Nona, seeing the flinch of alarm in her face, obediently tried to clamp her mouth shut before Hot Sauce had to shut her up, which had the effect that she nearly bit Hot Sauce. Hot Sauce said fervently, no, never. Why, traitors, said Hot Sauce vehemently. Fat cats, zombie lovers. Nona was a little bit tickled at the idea of passion we suffer being called fat cats and zombie lovers. She didn't like Crown being called either a fat cat or zombie lover, though, and certainly not a traitor. She said, not all of them. Some of them are good. Hot Sauce said, are you? No, said Nona swiftly. They sometimes talk to us. My family, she added. Hot Sauce only said, yeah, well, they sell us guns. What? Oh my goodness gracious, I can't do this. They sometimes talk to us, my family. Okay. I love that Nona already, knows that within Blood of Eden, the people they meet with, even We Suffer and Pash, are not, are technically kind of traitors. I was correct, so they are the rebel cell. I mean, that wasn't so far a leap of logic to make. Lying there, faces close, Nona had the comfortable feeling that she and Hot Sauce had crossed another barrier, just like the time she'd been asked to join the gang, and the time she had told Hot Sauce she loved the city. It was painfully sweet lying there whispering, even if it was half-truths, or quickly shut-up truths, spoken softly so that Kevin and the teachers didn't hear you. Sweet enough that she reached out and touched Hot Sauce on the hand without thinking, without remembering all of Camilla's warnings not to touch anyone. Why? Yellow for question mark. She worried something's gonna happen? Or is it that, Nona's just like me when I was a kid and just did not understand personal space? But Hot Sauce didn't mind. She put her fingers over Nona's and Nona thrilled to it. Hot Sauce said, you're nice. I wish you were my sister. Nona's cup of joy was full. I'll be your sister if you like. Never had sisters, only brothers, said Hot Sauce. Younger or older? Older. Were they nice? Yeah. How did they die? Asked Nona. Hot Sauce thought about it. Don't know, she finally said. They were setting up the turrets. One of the minions made it through with a sword. They're nuts about swords. Wild. I'm practiced with one, so I won't freak out like my brothers did. We couldn't get close, though, afterward. Thought they might be scarecrows. When she saw that Nona didn't understand, she added, dolls. Lures. They look like normal bodies lying down, or sitting or standing. When you get too close, they explode. Bones. Everything. Nona squeezed one foot and then another. Her toes got terrible pins and needles, but she liked the sensation when she unsqueezed. That sudden sense of relief. What the fuck is happening? I feel like I do not have enough brain cell energy right now to be putting all of this together. But I'm going to put a purple tab here. Nuts about swords. The cohort? The houses? Not necromancers for sure. Unless they're lictors. Ay, 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 ay. What happened after that? She asked. Our base, we surrendered. White flag. Let them in, said Hot Sauce. My cousin put all the fertilizer we had in a truck. Drove it into their troop. They don't sense tech. Don't believe what they say. Engines or anything. He got a bunch of them when it exploded. Minions, wizards, both. After a pause, she said, it got him too. Nona said, I wish nobody had been got. This time it was Hot Sauce's turn to not understand. It's okay. First necromancer who gets in range, I shoot, she said. Nona shuddered again all the way from her hips to her toes. Hot Sauce patted her hand and said pragmatically, you have aircon sweats. What? No, said Nona, and it was the first time she'd admitted it to anyone, or at least anyone who wasn't herself. Some deep well of need and terror welled up in her, and then before she could walk it back, without even really wanting to, she did it. She told Hot Sauce the secret. Which one? What's happening? Oh my goodness gracious. Hot Sauce thought about it. She looked at Nona, and then she thought about it again. There's a clinic in town, she said. The angel works there. Not always. Some evenings. Nona clapped her hands together softly in sheer delight. Pyrrha always said it was her most disgusting habit. Hey! Don't be mean to our girl. That's how you knew she was a doctor, she said. That's why she helped Honesty. Yeah, I went to see her once, said Hot Sauce, a little grudgingly, as though she didn't quite want to share. Then she unbent and said, I've been shot at. That explained a lot. Did you have a bullet in you? No, it missed. Broke my collarbone when I dodged. Before Nona could say anything else, Hot Sauce said, your problem. Talk to her. It's not going to help, said Nona. Hot Sauce flicked her nose thoughtfully. There's an organ market, she said. Sometimes they're cheap. What is happening? Organ? What? Why would Nona need organs? Or does she need to sell organs? No, if they're cheap, that means she needs to buy them. What's happening? Does she not have internal organs? Oh my goodness gracious. The secret. Does Gideon need internal organs? Is that the secret? That Gideon's brain isn't working right? And then Hot Sauce thinks the solution to that is just getting a new one? No, I can't. I'm so confused. Oh dear God. No, don't worry, Hot Sauce, please, and don't tell others my secret, added Nona in a hurry, alarmed. You're literally the only one who knows. You know, in case something happens, you have to keep this between you and me. You have to promise. You have to promise right now. Okay, said Hot Sauce. Then, I promise. Okay, said Nona. She was very touched when Hot Sauce got up and wriggled out of her jacket and made to put it over the thin, slippery blanket. Nona said, don't, give it to Kevin. And so Hot Sauce put it over Kevin. Kevin did not move, and for a moment Nona panicked that Kevin had died from eating the insides of 5 sandwiches. But Kevin made a sort of puppyish snuffling sound and wriggled underneath the blanket where the jacket was, so that was all right. Nona felt a great sense of peace and calm when Hot Sauce came and lay back down beside her. She let her eyelids flutter down and was annoyed when they did not want to flutter back up. She struggled heroically to keep them open, even using her fingers, until Hot Sauce stopped her. You can sleep if you want to, said Hot Sauce. I'll be here. You won't tell, will you, Hot Sauce? No, said Hot Sauce, and I'm here, Nona. I'll look after you. I love you, Hot Sauce, she said. Exhausted, Nona felt Hot Sauce touch her hand very lightly, very gently. The last thing she heard before falling asleep was Hot Sauce saying, "Don't be soppy," but it didn't sound like she meant it. What's the secret? Which one? You got a lot of secrets, Nona. You got the fact that you heal because you got a lictor's body. You got the fact that you know all languages somehow magically. I don't think the reading people thing is quite a secret. Then you can hear the frickin' resurrection beast. What else am I missing? That's not like a personally Nona secret. She just said the secret, so it could be about literally anything. Why? What were they talking about before? You have aircon sweats. I'm assuming it's something about her body. But what would follow up from you get cold easily? She can't heat herself up? What's happening? What's happening? Oh my god. Okay, so we got a John, and then we got a really, really long chapter 16, so that should probably be a next video. All right, let's do another dream. John 8:1. The ash never made them feel too sick for long, but sometimes they blacked out together, only for seconds, really no time at all, but he didn't like it. He'd never liked losing control. He'd never liked losing consciousness. In the dream she knew he could not be coaxed to sleep unless she stood in the doorway, or in the worst times, stroking her thumb between his eyebrows, down the bridge of his nose. In the dream she did not fear sleeping, but she did not know how to do it herself. Her body was a mystery to her. She did not understand what it meant or signified. I don't understand what any of this means or signifies. She would suddenly collapse and sleep where she fell, shocked into unconsciousness by exhaustion, and wake wherever he put her, in whatever makeshift bed he had been forced to cook up, sometimes old-stained mattresses, sometimes baby-soft skin hammocks. That's, disgusting. But okay. Also, like, what's happening? Is she hallucinating John? Like, we don't really know what happened to him either. Yeah, they just pulled him out when Augustine went into the stoma, is the last thing I remember about whatever the fuck happened to God. So, I don't know what's happening here, other than Harrow is dreaming, but I don't know how these dreams work. How do they work? Is he visiting her in these dreams? Is she hallucinating wildly like the rest of us do when we're asleep? We're getting this whole backstory of his, so there has to be something happening. Because I don't think we're just getting a whole bunch of fake information that's made up by Harrow's brain. I don't think that doesn't seem like something that would happen. I'm just giving up. I'm giving up. We're just gonna keep reading about baby soft skin hammocks. That's a no from me, man. They had to trek all the way back down the hill on the side where the waters weren't rising, and back up the road to a crumbled down concrete building he'd found. Like, I literally just, like, kind of, it's not processing. I'm just like, okay, information is not being filed because I don't know where the fuck to file it. What to attach it to. All day they transferred their things, their meat, their buckets of water, their socky blankets they pinned up to dry so they'd have somewhere to sleep. It took them multiple trips. Yeah, this is just, it's like a frickin' fever dream. Hallucination, God knows. They didn't bother to start a fire. They weren't really cold. But it was dark because the ash kept falling, and he set up a long line of torches, putting them on windowsills and balancing them upward so that their thin yellow light was strung across the room. This highlighted his face in strange ways. It made his brown skin bluish and the white ring around his black iris a satiny gold. Gold eyes! Getting your gold eyes back? Is something happening with Electo? When they were settled, he said, "We got some attention up front because people thought we were trying to get media jobs with some excellent deep fakes. They thought we were playing a game or giving people a puzzle or maybe doing some branding. Branding then? Talk about late stage capitalism, right? How far can consumption as praxis go? I mean, fair enough, it didn't look real." He said, "Result was that nobody turned up to take us away to Area 51. Almost nobody even noticed us. We were just one voice in the wilderness, and all the other voices were louder. It was original, at least, you know. We got a handful of conspiracy theorists, some skeptics, and some locals who thought it was a joke. M said, invite them in to see. So we did. Taped them, so they could do whatever test they wanted. Showed them everything, got it on camera. Managed a crowd of about 5. 5 plus us and Ulysses and Titania and all the other corpses I had up and walking around. More people there were dead than alive." Interesting. I would freak. He said 2 of the audience members walked away afterwards. One didn't say anything. One freaked out and said he was calling the cops. Only one of them accepted it. Turns out he was one of those flat earthers who still believed despite the Mars installation. Nice guy. Drank a beer with us before he left. He said, then we took off. Thread after thread on message board after message board, people wanting proof. People asking what the fuck it meant. People talking about the Lucifer telescope and saying we were aliens. People calling me the Antichrist, which was a trip. People writing up these long posts on how the trick had been done, how I got the meat into the pie. Was I fake? Was I real? If I was real, what did it mean? Suddenly there were hundreds of people all there at our front door. They came in caravans, they were sleeping in their cars or putting up tents. A hell of a lot of them had flown out internationally. He said some of them wanted to see the miracle. Some of them wanted my help, like, oh, you're the magical death man? Can you do something about my body? Can you fix my fibromyalgia? Thing was, I could. That surprised me. I could take out their tumors. I could fix their macular degeneration. Big damage was easy unless they'd actually lost a limb or whatever. Couldn't grow those back. But I spent hours and hours a day playing Jesus. That was nice. Those were some of the nicest hours I got to spend. He said, but when you're doing the whole go my child, your knee cartilage is fixed, you're going to get a lot of visitors. I had to turn people away because I had to eat, I had to sleep, even though I didn't want to. M had brought in her best friend, the nun, and I was worried I was going to get the Antichrist bit from her too. But she was just like, stop doing this. Read your Bible. This was Christ's whole problem. I was like, what are you talking about? Jesus cured the lepers and everyone was like, hooray, thanks, man. M's nun was like, are you kidding? Christ never said no and never asked anyone to pay and got way too much attention and brought the heat down on everybody. Christ didn't get to keep office hours, she said. Don't do that. Also, buddy, do you not remember how he ended up? Buddy got lynched. He got killed. He got killed by people because they were freaked out or whatever. I don't know. There's too much of this that's myth and not enough that I know about the actual history. But, like, it didn't end well. It only ends well if you're a Christian. He said, so we limited Jesus stuff to 1 hour a day, and I always had to eat breakfast. But by then, the whole world was on our doorstep. He added, we knew it was going to be a big problem. We got this guy with an army of upwards of 40 walking corpses that he acquired legally, but was meant to bury a while back. It's time for some hard conversations. He's curing cancer, that's great, but he's bookended by 2 zombies. They're dressed in outfits, that's bad. You've got a wizard out in the Wop Wops, who's now got blanket bans from nearly every video upload site, and a whole bunch of people have entered the country because of his YouTube channel. The government isn't all, love the small business entrepreneur spirit. The government says, this is a cult. I mean, they're not, like, entirely wrong. Sorry. I'm trying to move my legs so they don't get annoyed at me. I can't see where the legs of the stand are. I can't see through the desk. Oh my gosh, what is that? He said, they came in thousands, pilgrims and tourists and skeptics and believers and CIA plants and wannabe stars and priests and oddballs. And here we were squatting in this building trying to prepare a gambit for every eventuality. We were in the middle of a shantytown in an international controversy, and we knew any moment a riot squad was going to bust in. And we were all living in 3 rooms together, and we were scared. It turned out to be a huge fucking blessing that we had a nun on cast. She bought us some breathing room. She applied to the Vatican to argue about whether or not it was a miracle because I'd been baptized. Didn't mention that I'd only gone to parachute because of the underage drinking, but she was a lifesaver. And then A brought in his little brother, who was a hedge fund manager. A Jr. was useless, but he was a darling. I couldn't fault A for adding him to the mix. All of us were getting frightened. We bit off more than we could chew. We were gathering the people we loved and closing the doors. He said, at that point the government asked us to come in quietly with our hands up. He said, we didn't want to. They always said they want us, they have to come get us. We're not getting separated, we're not getting disappeared. Brave words, but stopping them was on me, you know? We've got 2 scientists and an engineer and a lawyer and a nun and a banker and a cop and an artist. That's not a defense force. That's a cop and 6 different kinds of nerd. P was great, but like ministry ties or no ministry ties, a big part of her career was going around to the local high school throwing blue light discos and telling the drug kids they shouldn't be doing drugs. She'd won medals for competitions shooting back north in Hamilton, but we're not talking Jesse James, we're talking Hamilton. He said, the cryo lab was about 100 meters across, concrete and steel and cladding set on 2 acres of repurposed farmland. I had 40 corpses on hand, and a lot of them were in a state with partials from earlier testing. We had a lot of flash-frozen brain matter. I couldn't harvest anything from Ulysses and Titania. I refused. A and M were making black jokes about taking volunteers from the crowd for the skeleton army. One day we ran out of time before those jokes could become suggestions. P called ahead. She betrayed the police for us, told us the riot squad was about half an hour away, and they were carrying big guns. She chose us that day, not her career. I always loved her for that. She'd adored being a cop. He said, I knew what I needed. I needed to cut the place off. Wall it up, do something impressive to buy us time. Let them know we couldn't get pushed around. So I pulled up walls close to 3 foot thick. What you'd now call perpetual bone, staked 6 feet down. G ran the numbers for me. I didn't listen to his warnings about plumbing, so I busted the outside water pipe. But that was the worst that happened. The cops arrived in half an hour and tried a battering ram, industrial cutters, everything. They worked for hours, but nothing even penetrated. It was perfect. Except that I'd forgotten to do air holes, so I had to make some of it permeable up top, but like, fine, we caught it early. Nobody suffocated. He fell quiet. After a while she prompted, you made it from your bodies? He said, nah. I decided I didn't want to touch any of the bodies, not only Titania and Ulysses. They'd all been through a lot. It was at this point that he had the grace to look embarrassed. He said, I'm not proud of this. But well, like, we were on farmland, with farm animals. Big things with mass to spare. The field just over the road from us had over 80 heads of cattle. Field over that had a lot of sheep, and the bush was full of old bones. I had to get creative. We had to lock C in the kitchen when she found out so she could throw up in private for a while, and we wouldn't let her look at it. Thankfully it was dark, so there wasn't too much to look at. He said, it wasn't clean. I had to unsleeve them to get 2 piles to work from, softs and bones, and it was not beautiful, but it worked. A 3-foot-thick shield of meat, bone, and sinew spread over 2 acres of Greytown land. You could see it on Google Earth. Kind of pretty from far off, sort of pink. He said, and then the government was like, okay, let's talk. He said it had worked, and we were all okay. And the rest of the world knew too. You can't erect a 2-acre cow and sheep shield without making the news, though I think they censored the close-up pictures. They took us seriously after that. Some of them wanted to talk to us to see who we were, and some of them didn't want to talk to us because we were evil, and some didn't want to talk to us because we were forcing their hands. Sure, I'd cured a bunch of people's cancer, but I was freaky. I cured a bunch of people of cancer, but I was freaky. They treated us like we'd done some kind of huge crime. After a pause, he said, I mean, I'd kind of done a huge crime. I'd turned several hundred animals inside out and made them into a big art installation, and I hadn't complied with the cops. But extenuating circumstances, okay? There were extenuating circumstances. It wasn't my fault that turning several hundred animals inside out made you look like a bad guy. There were beef, cattle, and mutton. My way was a hell of a lot quicker than the abattoir. But it's hard to be all, let's listen to magical inside-out animal shield man. He obviously has some good ideas. He said, I didn't care what they thought. I wanted the attention. I wanted to break my NDAs. I wanted to let them know about the cryo plans and how we got shut down. I wanted to talk about you. About how we'd been going to save the world and the cash dried up for no reason. And now we had a platform, so maybe the cash could come back somehow. But we'd scared a lot of people. We also had more enemies than we'd ever had before. He said, I guess you could say we had beef. When she did not laugh, he said, I can't believe nobody's ever going to laugh at my jokes again. I can't believe it. It's all gone. I'm the only one left. It's just me and you and no more jokes. She said, I still love you. And he laughed and said, that was a good one. Then he wept again. What the fuck? Where are they stuck? How did they get stuck together? What? What? I guess I'm gonna put a purple information tab there for, I can't believe nobody's ever going to laugh at my jokes again. It's all gone. I'm the only one left. It's just me and you and no more jokes. Ay, 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 ay. What? Like, I get it. Harrow voluntarily did not go back to her body and was like, you know what, I'm gonna hang out with the sword in a tomb. And, you know, that's very valid of her. But what's God doing there? I understand how he would say he's the only one left, since technically she's just kind of a disembodied, possibly a revenant or whatever. But what? Where is he? I thought he got out of the stoma. Yeah, so they're not like in hell or whatever. At least I think so. And they got him out last moment. That was the last thing we saw of them before, you know, Pure and Gideon almost died. Maybe died. Kind of drowned. Not really. Oh, dear goodness. Oh my gosh. I'm starting to get a headache. Whew. Okay. We'll see. I think I might be able to do the next chapter. I still have an hour and a half before I gotta go somewhere. I'm gonna have dinner with my mom. Okay?